Today we will discuss various aspects of web application development with uniGUI Web Application Framework. My name is Farshad Muhajiri and I'm a software developer at FMsoft. Here is the list of topics that we are going to discuss today. First of all, I will make a brief introduction to uniGUI and Sencha Ext JS. In the next topic, we will discuss full-stack web development and we will find out why uniGUI is one of the best tools available to create web applications with Delphi. Also, I will try to create a simple database web application with uniGUI in less than 5 minutes. We will also discuss Linux operating system support in uniGUI. After it, we will explore uniGUI HyperServer and we will try to find out how it greatly improves stability and scalability of uniGUI web applications. Finally, I will go through our roadmap and see what's planned for the future. At the end of this webinar, I will try to answer your questions as always. So, let's start. At this point, let's make a brief introduction to uniGUI and Sencha Ext JS. uniGUI is a web application framework for Delphi. I'm sure many of you are already familiar with uniGUI. uniGUI enables developers to create web applications quite similar to the way you create VCL applications in Delphi. Now let's take a look at the uniGUI website and see what it is all about. Okay, here is the uniGUI website. If you open this site in a desktop browser, you will notice that a live uniGUI demo is running in the middle of the web page. If you scroll down a bit, you can see here is a demo application. This demo application is created with uniGUI and Delphi, of course. So you can see what actual uniGUI is simply by visiting uniGUI website and inspecting this live demo, which is on the very first page. In this demo, we have various pages where each page demonstrates a single component or a certain feature of the framework. For example, here we have various pages about charts. Here we can see 3D chart, pie chart. If I scroll a bit, we can open this section about database. We have fish facts, master details. You can also inspect the source code for each page. For example, if I open the source code for this page, you can see that it is pure Pascal and also it is a DFM file. So normally you would only use Pascal language, Delphi language to create your web application. For example, for this one, you can see that we have DB grid, DB text. There's a little code here. Now let's talk a bit about Sencha Ext JS. Probably you have wondered what Sencha Ext JS is and why it is so important for uniGUI framework. Basically, Sencha Ext JS is an enterprise-level JavaScript library for creating advanced client-side user interfaces. Ext.js is the most comprehensive JavaScript framework for building data-intensive cross-platform web and mobile applications. This library is used by uniGUI to create the client-side user interface. So all of the UI elements and components that you have seen in the previous demo on the uniGUI website are actually Ext.js components. And here is the Sencha's website. Again, here you can see a demo for Ext.js components. There are more than 140 visual components for Ext.js. These components allow creating very advanced and elegant looking web applications. So it is clear now that these components are used in uniGUI to create the user interface of the web application. For example, we have buttons here again. For data handling, we have let's look at the grid. There are lots of advanced features for XJS grids. As you can see in this slide, uniGUI comes with a rich set of visual components. There are more than 150 components which help you to create visually compelling web applications. Especially, there are multiple components for database access, which easily enables you to create web applications with a database backend. Now let's talk a bit about full-stack web development. In full-stack web development, software is developed for both front-end and server-side backend. In the classical full-stack web development approach, separate tools are used to develop client-side UI and server-side backend. This can be time-consuming and frustrating because you need to spend more time, use different tools, and also maintain multiple code bases. On the other hand, web tools such as uniGUI create both client-side UI and server-side backend automatically. With uniGUI, developers don't need to develop separate softwares for front-end and also for the backend. In this sense, uniGUI can be considered as a complete solution for creating full-stack web applications using Delphi. Another important aspect of a web application is session management, which also is automatically managed by uniGUI framework. This means that you don't need to also develop code for session management in uniGUI. When it comes to deployment, uniGUI offers lots of options. Among these options, there are standalone executable, which is available for Windows and Linux. Another deployment option is Windows Service, which is obviously only available for Windows. Izabi module option is also available for Windows. Finally, you can deploy your web application in the form of a native Apache module. This option works for both Windows and Linux. Now you may ask, is there any option to run my application on the Linux as a service? The answer is yes. By making a few simple configurations, you can run your standalone executable as a service on the Linux. Okay, now it is time to demonstrate uniGUI in Delphi IDE and develop a simple database web application. Well, I will try to achieve this goal in less than 5 minutes. Let's see if it is possible. Here I have the Delphi 10.4 IDE, which I will use to create the sample application. First of all, we will start by using uniGUI for Delphi and application wizard. Let's use this folder and demo DB. So here you see that we have a main form, we have a main module, and also a server module. I will use FileDeck memtable as my data source. I will assign a local data source. Also, let's add a T data source and connect it to our table. Now I have my data set loaded with data. Now let's put some data aware components. We can start with a grid. UniDB grid. And let's attach it to our data source. Yes. We can also put a DB image somewhere here, and let's choose the data source and data field. Let's adjust some settings, proportional and stretch. What else we can add? DB edit, for example. Again, data source and common name. Also, we can add a navigator. And that's all. Let's compile the application. And we can run the application. Now the web application is running in the background. We can understand this by looking at the taskbar, and here we can see a small icon which shows uniGUI web application server is running. Now let's test the application in a web browser. Here I need to type this address, which is the correct address which points to the uniGUI web application. So yes, this is our main form, which is displayed in a web browser. We can navigate through the datasets, and also we can edit using this DB edit, or also we can directly edit the dataset inside the grid. Butterfly, fish. So as you can see, we were able to create a very simple database application in less than 5 minutes. Another thing that we can do here in this project is adding a mobile form to this application. So we can demonstrate the mobile device components available in uniGUI. To do this, we can simply go here and choose uniGUI for Delphi, mobile form, mobile application main form, and yes, here you can see that we have a new type of form which resembles a mobile device, which shows that we can add uniGUI mobile components to this form. Again, we can choose a DB edit. This time it is a uniMDB edit. A DB image, and also a DB navigator. Okay, now let's choose same data source and also assign the data fields, command name, and for this one graphic. Okay, and also let's do some fine tunings. Okay, let's compile the application. Our application is running in the background. Okay, once again. Okay, and let's run the application. And here I have the Google Chrome with mobile device emulation. Here we have iPhone 10. In order to open the mobile interface, we need to use a different address. Yes, so we can navigate again here in the mobile form. We can choose a different device. Yes. Probably you have noticed that this application has two main forms, one for desktop and another one for mobile devices. So what does this mean actually? It means that you can connect from this application from a desktop browser and also from mobile devices, and when a desktop browser is used, this main form will be displayed, and when a mobile device is used, this main form for mobile devices will be displayed automatically. So let's try it. Here is a desktop browser. I use the default address. As you can see here, we have the desktop version of the main form. Now let's switch to our mobile emulator, and again I will type the same address, and let's see. Yes, this time the mobile main form is displayed. So in this way you are able to create applications with a dual interface, one for desktop devices and another one for mobile devices. Okay, let's take a look at uniGUI HyperServer. uniGUI HyperServer is primarily designed to radically improve availability, stability, and scalability of uniGUI applications. It is achieved by running multiple instances of the web application in the background. Each instance is called a node. So instead of running a single instance of your application, multiple instances will serve multiple sessions. It is comparable to putting all of your eggs in separate baskets instead of carrying all of them in only one basket. So when there's a problem in one of the baskets, only eggs in that basket will be damaged. Here we have a drawing at the right hand side. You can see that there are several nodes here. And we have the HyperServer itself at the center. Each node can contain one or more sessions. These are sessions. So you can consider that when there's a problem in one of the nodes, for example, there's a software bug or any other unexpected situation which may cause that node to stop responding. In this case, HyperServer will automatically mark this node as purged, and it will be recycled by the HyperServer. So let's see how it works in a real-world example. Here is our web application that we have created in our previous example. I make no change to the application, just build it once again. And here is the folder that my application executable file is placed. I will copy it to the demo folder, where I also have HyperServer executable file. I make a small adjustment in the configuration file. I only add the binary name of the application executable file and save it, exit. Now I have HyperServer and my application executable file. This time, instead of running the application itself, I will run the HyperServer exe. In the browser, once again, I call standard address. As you can see, here is my application. There is no difference in the application itself. The only difference is that this time this application is running behind the HyperServer. So, how can we see more details about HyperServer? This can be done by pointing to the server control panel of the HyperServer. As you can see here, we have a tab named HyperServer. In this tab, we can see many information about the internal state of HyperServer. Here we have two nodes. Let's start a new session. As you can see now, we have two sessions. We have two nodes. Each node is serving one session. Depending on the total number of sessions, you will see different numbers here. So each node can serve multiple sessions or only one single session. You can see that one of the nodes is marked as purged, and it is recycled and replaced by a new node. All of these are done automatically inside the HyperServer. We can also check these nodes from the task manager. If you check here, you can see that there are two instances of DemoDB exe is running in the background. So based on your configuration, there can be multiple nodes, 8 nodes, 16 nodes, 64 nodes. It all depends on your particular configuration. So now let's take a look at one of the exciting features of the HyperServer, and this is remote deployment, which means you can deploy a new version of your application without stopping your server or restarting it. For example, here is our current version of our application. Now let's go back to Delphi and let's make some modifications. For example, I can add a new DB edit here, and let's assign it a new data field. For example, category, and build the application. Now let's go back to the HyperServer, choose this upload tool, and Let's point it to demodb executable file. Open, upload. Yes. So our nodes are marked as discarded, which means these nodes will no longer serve new sessions. So what will happen if I want to start a new session? As you can see, the new version of our application is displayed. And if you check the HyperServer, you can see that we have two nodes. One is the previous version of the application, and this new one is the new version, and the previous one is already recycled. So we could update our application without stopping or restarting the server. Let's continue with HyperServer and talk a bit about node management in HyperServer. In a live example, we will try to observe how this can improve scalability in uniGUI applications. Here we have our HyperServer control panel. There are initially two nodes, and there are 0 sessions. We will use uniGUI stress test tool to automatically create new sessions, and we will be able to see how HyperServer creates new nodes on the fly. As expected, new sessions will be distributed among these new nodes. So let's start with 100 sessions. Here is my demo application, which is running behind the HyperServer, and here is my test tool, and let's start. Yes, 100 sessions are created. And here you can see that up to 16 nodes are created to handle these 100 sessions. And after sessions are completed, these nodes will be automatically recycled. And yes, and only again we will be left with 2 initial nodes. We can try with 1000 sessions. Start. $400, $500, $1,000. It is easy to observe that sessions are equally distributed between nodes. Each node owns around 60 sessions. So when test is completed, again, these nodes will be recycled. It shows that how HyperServer automatically manages your sessions and distribute the load, the sessions between nodes. Finally, we will discuss Linux support in uniGUI. uniGUI provides Linux support for Delphi 10.3 or newer versions, such as 10.4 and later. All uniGUI components are compatible with Linux. Database support is provided by either using FireDuck or any other third-party database components which support Linux. Graphics and image manipulation support is limited. It is because Many of the graphics libraries for Delphi are based on Windows API. That said, graphics support for Linux will be improved in upcoming uniGUI releases. HyperServer for Linux is not available yet, and it is under development. Now let's try to deploy our sample application to Linux. Once again, here is our demo application. This time I will try to add a new platform to the application, and it is Linux 64-bit. Here I have my virtual box and I have HyperServer running inside a terminal window. In Delphi, I have previously set up a Linux profile and I believe that it is ready to build my application for Linux. Before I do that, there is one small setting which should be done for Linux specifically, and that is we need to specify the path for uniGUI runtime files. I can do this by simply pasting this statement here. This path shows the location where uniGUI runtime files are placed. This is not required for Windows, but for Linux, since there is no runtime installer, we need to manually deploy the required libraries, and these are JavaScript libraries, XJS, and etc. So, by defining this path, uniGUI will know that where it should look for uniGUI runtime files. So, let's build the application. Okay, it is built successfully. Now we should deploy and run the application. Yes, application is running. In a browser window, I will type the address of my Linux server, and yes, this is our same demo application, but this time it is running under Linux. Before we finish this webinar, let's take a look at uniGUI roadmap. Here there are several items in the roadmap which are planned for 2021. First one is upgrading uniGUI to the latest XJS version 7.4. Current version in uniGUI is XJS 7.0. Also, uniGUI components will be revised to implement all of the new features that are introduced in recent versions of XJS. There will be lots of improvements and new components for uniGUI Mobile. There will be various HyperServer improvements, including a web form which allows you to modify all of the settings and parameters directly from a web session. you will not need to edit a configuration file. So it will be a great improvement for HyperServer. Also, there will be HyperServer for server farms. Also, we will implement HyperServer for Linux. uniGUI installer will be improved, and it will be a fully automated installer. We will plan to improve localization. Also, there will be new components, additional visual themes, and many performance improvements. That's all. Thanks for watching.
Hello? Sorry about that. It's been the morning of computer troubles. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Oh, good. Sorry about that. My Windows update last night. It's like, hey, we need update. And I'm like, okay, I'm nervous, but I'll give it a shot. And it just did not want to boot today. And now
Yeah,
my audio.
Windows, it is typical of Windows. It does that every time and without asking you.
Yes. So, all right, but audio is working now, and we're here.
Yeah.
So that was fantastic. I did not catch all of it because I was busy trying to make my other computer work since I had to start it on my backup computer. But we'll go through some of the questions here. Uh, uniGUI is not for Delphi only. It can be with C++ Builder as well. Is that right?
Yes. The only detail here is that you need to have RAD Studio installed on your computer. I mean, it is not enough to have C++ Builder installed. You need to have the complete RAD Studio. So it means that because in uniGUI is developed with Delphi. So you need to compile Delphi DCUs and create all those, C++ specific files such as HPP and header files and etc. And
Now,
this requires Delphi. So you cannot do that with C++ Builder.
so the C++ Builder actually can compile pass files, but it can't compile Delphi projects. So if does uniGUI ship ship as source, or does it ship precompiled?
Yes, that's actually one of the problems. I mean, since for some parts of the uniGUI we only have the DCU files, uh, we need to have Delphi to create those C++ headers. So if someday we start deploying full source code, maybe we can just use C++ Builder, and we will not need the RAD Studio.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. If there's anything I can do to help you with that, let me know. Okay.
Yes.
So it works with other databases as well as just the FDMM table, looks like.
Of course, because it uses Delphi's database infrastructure, which means you can use any T dataset, T connection based data aware components. So we are not limited to any sort of connections or datasets.
And I did want to comment that I think it's fantastic that when I go to the uniGUI website, I get to see a uniGUI application like right there on your homepage. It's annoying for me, a lot of websites I go to that are providing a web framework and you don't ever see the web framework working on their website. I don't know why that is. It's like, wait, does this actually do it? I'm not trying to call anything out specifically. I'm sure there's reasons other places might not do that, but I really do appreciate that I can see uniGUI on the website and say, oh, this is what it's going to look like.
Yes, thank you. It is actually, you have the lead product in the very first page. You open the page and it is the lead product in front of you. There is no need to try to understand, oh, what is uniGUI, what it does, and what it is all about. Okay, it is here in front of you in the first page.
Yeah. So HyperServer allows, it looks like, quite a bit of scalability, lots of over 1,000 users, it looks like here, or how many users? What's kind of some of the bigger deployments you have with going on with uniGUI?
Actually, our biggest deployments are those that we have used to test the framework, because in actual example, maybe we don't have, okay, we may have been up to 500 concurrent users. Some of our customers have done that, I know. But in our tests, we could reach up to 10,000, 50,000 concurrent sessions. So it all depends on your particular application. It is not that HyperServer can magically scale your application to thousands of sessions. Your application should also be scalable. Your database backend should be scalable. All of these details are important. So if your application is scalable and everything is good, you have designed your app, because you know that when you are going to design an application for thousands of sessions, you need to take care about each component and each detail, especially database backend of the application. All of this should be scalable. So if all of these are scalable, HyperServer can help handle this amount of sessions.
I'm sure it matters a lot about what the application's doing itself, I mean, beyond being scalable, but like how intensive, how much back and forth the individual user sessions are doing too, right? As far as like what the type of session is, because if it's doesn't have a lot of demands on the database, then it should be able to support a lot more users than if there is constant back and forth with the user database.
Yes, especially for database, you need to use connection pooling. It is one of the requirements. So you will not open thousands of connections to the database server. Instead, by using pooling, you may be able to use much fewer connections to handle large amount of sessions.
So some questions here about responsive user interface or responsive web design for uniGUI. Is that something that's coming on the roadmap in the near future?
Actually, yes, but again, it highly depends on what you mean by responsiveness. Even with existing components and existing user layouts in uniGUI, you can achieve responsiveness. Maybe not in the term that many people use, but you can even use Delphi's classical align and anchor settings to achieve a good level of responsiveness. But again, in Sencha Ext JS, we have special set of commands and components to create responsiveness. And we are going to implement those and integrate those features also in uniGUI. And actually, it was a plan for last year, previous year, but this year, probably in Q1 or Q2, we are going to show something to our users.
Fantastic. Yeah, I clicked onto your homepage. Had your homepage open here because you had the sample on it, and I have been playing with this way too much here. It's cool. Very cool stuff here. I was playing the little game here with the break, like the bouncing little ball. Actually, I just clicked onto the jQuery sample here you have. So does this let you pull in like other style sheets and stuff that you can like have a designer do your style sheets, or is that something that's supported with this as well?
Actually, don't design any additional style sheet or any. Are you referring to CSS code or something like this? Or?
Yeah, like CSS. Like so let's say I have I want to have a designer do the style sheet for my website, and then I want to have the uniGUI take advantage of that style sheet. Is that something that's supported?
You can add CSS files to your application. This file can be designed by an external tool, and you can use that CSS code to customize look and feel of your application and individual components. But it is something that needs you to first have a good knowledge of CSS and also have a good understanding of how uniGUI components and actually XJS components can consume that CSS code. So it requires some experience, background, and some additional coding. uniGUI does not have an integrated tool to, we have an CSS editor, you can just open the editor and start writing the code, but it is up to you to write the appropriate code for the, for example, you want to customize a button, you need to know which CSS code is needed and how to integrate it.
Okay, that makes sense. That's great. That's one of the things I love about Delphi in general, is that you can do a lot of things. I mean, Delphi, I think C++ builder, Rad Studio, but you can do a lot of these things without having to know too much of the underlying technology. And that, uniGUI is a good example of that, right? Is if I don't want to know JavaScript and CSS and stuff like that, you can make a great application. But if you take the time to learn the full stack, right, and learn all the intricacies and stuff, then you can still take advantage of that and get more power and more customization. So that's fantastic. Now, there's a question here: do we need Sencha? Can it be used alongside? Now, it comes with Sencha Ext JS with uniGUI, right? But can you use that beyond using it with this, or can you do additional integrations, or how does that? Is that a possibility?
Actually, we have an OEM version of the Sencha Ext JS integrated in uniGUI. It is deployed in your computer when you install uniGUI, and actually you don't see it. I mean, it works in the background when you create an application and you display the application in the web browser. What you see, they are actually Sencha Ext JS components. So you don't need to acquire XJS separately because it is already inside and the OEM license is included. If you want to use the Sencha Ext JS, the version included in uniGUI cannot be used because it only contains the files which are required by uniGUI. You don't have the full package. So you cannot use it for developing a standalone Sencha Ext JS application. You can only use it to develop uniGUI applications.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So if I wanted to do other things with XJS, I can get my own separate XJS license and do more and be able to do that as well. Is that right?
Actually, you can customize the Sencha components in uniGUI because for each uniGUI component, we also expose the XJS events, which are JavaScript events, as you can expect. So you can directly write JavaScript code inside Delphi IDE for XJS event handlers. For example, for button, you have the click event, which is JavaScript event. You can just open the editor and write down some JavaScript code for the click event, and when you click the button, this code will run in your browser. So you have the chance to make such fine tunings and customizations for Sencha components. So it is not completely closed to you. You still have the chance to work with Sencha components, but inside the uniGUI application.
Oh, fantastic. There's a question here about having the refresh button for the DB grid visible. Is that an option?
Hi, I think it refers to the button at the panel on the bottom of the grid. You can hide that panel completely.
Okay, so you can have it there or not. Okay, great.
Yes.
How about progressive web apps? Can you do progressive web apps with uniGUI?
Progressive web apps. Okay. What does it mean actually?
So I guess can you have? You said you can write JavaScript that runs in uniGUI. You can write JavaScript that runs in the client in the web browser. So I guess can you have offline data that so that they can have the application that can be what is it, background worker that they can then run offline without being connected to the internet?
So if it is offline web application, no, because uniGUI depends on the server, and the first page should come from the server, and that page is dynamically created on the fly, depending on your main form and other components of your application. So the offline version of uniGUI, actually, I believe that it doesn't make any sense, because uniGUI is designed to work on the server side, and client is only used for user interface. So 90% of the stuff will run on the server.
Okay, that kind of makes sense. I've looked at Progressive web apps a while ago, and I'm not completely up to date on it, but my understanding is that usually, basically, the backend is written in JavaScript in Node.js, and it like downloads and runs in a local instance or something. I don't know. Anyway, let's see. If let's say somebody is using BDE still, could they use BDE with uniGUI for their database on the backend?
BDE?
Yes, correct.
It requires custom coding. You need to create the interfaces and load the data using JavaScript code and direct it to XJS stores. And you can do this because you have the full Sencha XJS components, which those components can get data fed from any source, any source of data. It can be from a server side JSON array, or from a client side, something local. But again, it is up to you. uniGUI doesn't provide any built-in technique or any built-in components for this.
Okay, that makes sense. So one thing that people usually ask, can you do this? It's like, well, if you write enough code, you can get there. Usually the answer. Question about filtering and sorting options in the grids. Is there features to have more advanced functionality there?
Filtering, sorting. Yes. In our demo, in our main page of the website, there are a section for filtering and sorting, which demonstrates how you can use sorting. You can filtering is done on the server side. Keyword is sent to the server, and you provide the filtering using some SQL code or something else, and the result is sent back to the grid. So yes,
Yeah.
all of these are achievable.
Well, yeah, I'm doing it right now. This is
Yes,
awesome.
yes.
I love that you have all these samples right here because it's just like I'm clicking and doing it. And
Everyone
I
is
can.
welcome to open our web page and start playing with the demo.
Oh, this is great. I'm sorry, I'm getting really distracted. I keep going over there, clicking on things, and like, oh wow, look, I can do this. And okay, seeing a lot of comments here from people saying that they've been using uniGUI for years. They love it. They love being able to build web applications with this and think it's just the best framework around. So that's great to see.
What can I say? I appreciated all those comments. Thanks. So there's a question about Angular framework.
Okay, that's what I was just going to read. Yeah.
I test Angular framework with it. For example, if you have a grid on your app and two users on two different sessions, if user one modify a value, user two see the modification immediately. Is it possible? Actually, if these are two different sessions, actually they shouldn't be able to see each other's data. I'm not sure if it is something good or something bad. In uniGUI, it is only possible if you post that data into a data table and refresh the other session, so you can also see the data which is posted. So in uniGUI, sessions are isolated from each other. There is no way to each session and to see the data from other sessions. So under normal conditions, it is not possible. You need to construct the mechanism yourself if you want to do something like this.
Okay, it actually leads me to another question. Is there? I'm looking at still playing with the sample on here on our website, but I'm wondering, is there a way for the uniGUI instance to talk to outside to the rest of the web page, or is it always going to be like a separate container like it is here, or does that make sense?
Do you mean uniGUI server speaking to other servers or to other?
So like so I know that once on the server side that they could use traditional server communication, but let's say like on the website, like I'm on your website here and I see there's the sample application in this window, the uniGUI live demo. Could there be a way that I can like click a button in there and it could change something outside of the uniGUI area there on the web page itself?
Yes, I just explained how you can write JavaScript code for XJS button, right?
Okay, yeah.
You can use a JavaScript code which can use web DOM elements, and these DOM elements are capable of accessing anything which are on the same web page. So, of course, there are some security restrictions on modern web browsers which maybe restrict you from doing accessing something which is not which should not be accessible because you know these security regulations are becoming more strict each day. But whatever you can do with JavaScript code, you can also do that in uniGUI.
Okay, all right. What kind of reporting tools are there for working with uniGUI?
When it comes to reporting tools, there are actually few reporting tools that are tested with uniGUI. One of them is Fast Reports. There are also other reporting tools. The main principle here is that you need to export your report into a PDF file. You need to create and export it to a PDF file, and that PDF file is displayed inside a frame in uniGUI application. This way you can use and display reports in your application. So all you need is to generate a report and export it to a PDF file.
Okay.
We have several examples for PDF in our demos, which are deployed with our installer.
How about, do you have any samples for OAuth support with uniGUI?
We don't have an integrated sample because there can be many scenarios and different use cases when it comes to OAuth support. So we have some samples in our forums which are developed by our users. Again, you need to use custom coding and for both client and server side. But there are no good examples. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay. Are the demos that you showed during the webinar, are those included with uniGUI, or is there a separate place people can find those demos?
Sorry, I missed the question.
The demo, the samples that you showed in the webinar, are those included with uniGUI, or is there some place people can find those?
All of them are included in uniGUI, including the demo which you see in the web page. The full source code is included in the uniGUI package.
And so, and also there will be a replay available of this on YouTube that people can access. And so you can, if you want to share this with somebody else, you can do that as well. Okay, I think I've gotten through most of the questions here. Sorry, I kept getting distracted playing with the sample on your website. I was like, oh, can you do that? And I clicked on it and I'm like, that's so cool. And next thing I know, I'm playing ping pong again. Thank you so much for this and putting this all together, for putting the webinar together.
Maybe
okay.
a few more questions are coming. Is it
yeah,
are there new questions?
Yeah, it looks like there's a new question. Can I use the horse framework in uniGUI? Are you familiar with the horse framework?
What is horse framework? I'm not sure.
I will pull that up here. That's not it.
Let me also.
I'm familiar with it, but I'm trying to remember. It's on GitHub. #load horse minimalist web framework for Delphi. If you go, it's GitHub #load horse is the website.
Is it a server side? I mean, is it Delphi set of Delphi components or something like?
I don't know.
Okay,
It's a Delphi component. So maybe the answer is maybe, probably.
He can drop us an email and I will try to answer the question. My emails are on the screen. There are 2 emails. You can use them to contact me.
All right. Yep. Send him an email and we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Okay. I think that's it. I think.
Thank you for hosting this webinar.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for everybody. Sorry about the some of the moving around things, but we finally got it here.
Problem. So. No problem. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, and we will see you all around. Happy making good luck in making web applications and have fun. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Oh, actually, here's one more question for you. Sorry. I have a Sencha license with our Sencha, so they have Architect Edition of Delphi, so that includes the Sencha license. Is there some sort of conflict, or could they have conflicts with those licenses with their?
No, not at all. No, because uniGUI is installed on a separate folder, and there is no way that these two can conflict with each other.
Okay, actually, real quick before we go, I know I just tried to wrap up here. There is a
And okay, there was a question about Linux support in Delphi Professional. Will Embarcadero support this feature? I have no information. Maybe Jim can make a comment on this.
So I don't, as far as I know, that's not on the roadmap. So as far as I know, it's going to remain there. Generally, the idea is that the difference between the Pro and Enterprise editions are that Enterprise has more of the multi-tier server side functionality in it. That's kind of the differentiating factor. But I can say that if you look back long ago, some of the features that are in Pro were originally in Enterprise only. And I'm trying to think of some of those examples. So for example, I think like the T-client dataset used to be an enterprise only feature, and now it's available in Pro along with FD Mimtable. And also there was, I think the like the web I can't, what's called, web builder. That's the I can't remember exactly the name, but some of the web components for building web applications that are part of Delphi were originally in enterprise only, but now they're in Pro. So it's not on the roadmap to add Linux to Pro. A lot of people are suggesting it, which I understand. Would be great to put everything in Pro and make everything cheaper. But there is a history that sometimes some features do migrate from being enterprise only into Pro, but there is no immediate plans for that in the near future. And as far as I know, there are no plans for Embarcadero to buy uniGUI either, which I see being asked as well. It's one of those things that people a lot of times like, hey, why don't you just buy tech partner so-and-so and make it part of this? So there is a promo right now. If you go to embarcadero.com/radoffer, and if you're not on the latest version, you can buy Enterprise or Architect, and you get your choice of Interweb, TMS Web Core, or uniGUI for free. Pretty sure I know everybody on this webinar will be picking, but there are 3 great frameworks, I think, to choose from there. And that's one of the things I think is great about Delphi is that if Embarcadero bought uniGUI and put it in the box, then it would. Right now, you have the choice, right? You can choose what web framework you want to use or no web framework. But if we bought uniGUI and put it in the box, that makes it. I mean, you can still choose, I guess. I don't know. So you have a choice. That's something I love. Honestly, I've been a Delphi developer for years, like many of you have, and that's one of the things I've always found fantastic about Delphi is that whatever you're doing, you can probably find a component that makes your life 1,000 times easier. I remember I discovered, I don't know if it's still around or not, but there was a component that was a game of chess. You just drop the component on the form and it had chess, it had all the pieces, it had AI and everything all in a single component. And I just totally blew my mind that such a thing was available. So there's tons of components, there's tons of tech partners, and we want to support all of them and make them all, or help them all make your life better. So who knows what the future holds, but there I've talked about that topic.
Yes.
So thank you everybody for joining us. Did you have anything you want to add real quick before we go?
I think yes.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.